and that's probably the one place, we don't like to make excuses for weight gain. However, the one place that I've seen in the last 16 years now, people legitimately struggle and have an honest to goodness mountain to climb with weight loss is when hormones are going, for lack of a better description, wacky. When they're swinging up and down at times they shouldn't, and it's impacting a lot of things like sleep and overall quality of life, all of which contribute to weight gain, and same thing we see around the midsection. Again, that's where it's one of the few times that calories or macros or points or whatever, it's going to be critical to count that stuff. Now, you don't have to get obsessive about it, but it is going to matter, and it's going to matter more so than other times in your life. So, all right, so we talked about blood tests. We talked about doing the saliva test. And you said that's 4 times, so it's literally you spit in a container, right?
You spit in
a
little tiny test tube, 4 times between 6 and 8 in the morning, 11 and 1, 4 and 5, and 10 and midnight.
So it's pretty non-invasive.
It's non-invasive. We have tricks because people say, well, what if I have dry mouth? Well, you can chew white sugarless gum, or you can smell a lemon to salivate. And it's not needle sticks. It's really pretty easy. The only thing is there's certain foods we have them avoid, like garlic, onions, any caffeine, chocolate, because we don't want to get anything that could artificially raise their cortisol.
So you don't want like a false positive, if you will, because of something they have eaten. So that's something simple, whether you're in our market, and if you are, go see Chantel at Prairie Point. If you're in another market, find a female healthcare practitioner that can relate to what you're going through and is willing to have a conversation about things like, okay, it's not just menopause, and it's not just adolescence or puberty and childbearing years. There's another period in there of your life where things are going on. You want to make sure you have a healthcare professional that's willing to talk about it and acknowledge that it's real. Tim, how are we on time?
Doesn't tell me.
Oh, man. So we'll talk about, all right, so you do see somebody that does have an irregularity with cortisol, whether it's saliva test or maybe you see something weird going on. We won't get into thyroid. That's probably a topic for another day.
Okay.
We see a lot more women coming in than we did just 10 years ago with thyroid disorders of all types. So something's going on there. I think we can shoot a whole topic
I think
about
we
that.
could.
But if you get the results back, you review them with the patient, what is the next step? Now, is it hormones? Is it always hormones? Or
It
what
isn't
are your
always.
options?
Sometimes I will look at specific supplements, such as there's different amino acids that we will use at certain times because they can help lower cortisol, nighttime cortisol.
So what would be an amino acid to do that?
Phosphorylated serine
Okay.
is one of them we would use. Sometimes I'll use an adrenal adaptogen, which is a vitamin geared towards the adrenal gland
Okay.
to help boost that daytime fatigue.
Okay.
And so one of them I use is like an orthomolecular adrenal is one brand, but there's several out there.
Okay.
And I gear it towards where the fatigue is. So if it's afternoon fatigue, I tend to have them do one at breakfast, one at lunch, so that they get that afternoon time cortisol up into normal range. If they're having trouble sleeping at night, I tend to go for the phosphorylated serine to help bring that nighttime cortisol down. Plus it can help a little bit calming.
Okay.
Now, those are typically the things I'm going to go to supplement-wise to start with, other than like vitamin D, because I always check a vitamin D level, or a B12, depending on where they are.
Okay, now, vitamin D, and this is a selfish for me question. Can you take too much? Is there a toxic level of vitamin D, or is the body going to use what it needs and pass the rest?
No, there is a toxic level, which is why we do check it.
Okay.
Because they have shown that people can get too high. Do I see it very often? No.
So I guess, and the reason I ask that, and it's kind of a loaded question, is you don't want to go and self-regulate and try and self-dose your vitamin D. If you're concerned about it, go see somebody, get it checked, and I'm guilty, I need to do that as well, and actually make sure that if you are taking supplemental vitamin D, you're getting enough but not too much.
Right, because some of us run in our 20s because of where we live and we don't get sunshine. We're cooped up all day in offices.
Right.
Well, we might need 50,000 once a week, but not everybody needs that, and that would be toxic for many people.
So
Where
nice.
on average, a lot of people can get by with 2,000 a day or 1,000 a day.
Okay.
We tend to bump up in the winter because of where we live.
Because we don't get it in the Midwest from the sun.
Exactly.
Now, let's say none of that stuff works. Is that where you start looking at pharmaceuticals or prescription drugs? In other words, hormones and hormone replacement therapy?
Exactly. There is a prescription vitamin D out there. But if, say, I start doing all of their natural things and we're not getting anywhere and their hormones are off, then I look at the hormone levels. And a lot of times it's as simple as using a hormone replacement such as progesterone tends to be why I use perimenopause, because so many of us have extra estrogen because of our environments.
Okay. That xenoestrogens would be a topic of discussion for another time. Tim, remember that one. So you can start off with one non-invasive stuff you can do at home in addition to the blood work. Again,
Right.
You got to go to the doctor for this. You need to go see someone like Chantel. A saliva test, you can do that at home. There's no pins, no needles for people terrified of them like me. Their exercise and nutrition are always going to play a role. And then there are over-the-counter, non-prescription options to start with. And in the event those don't work, there are still some additional prescription options. And I guess at the end of the day, with a combination of those treatments or those approaches, you do see women report a better quality of life, I guess, for lack of better description.
They feel better. They feel like themselves. That's the coined term, I'm back. And then they feel like exercising and eating right and taking care of themselves.
And the sleep improves as cortisol adjusts. And again, I guess, so anybody out there is watching, if cortisol is elevated, you tend to be more awake.
Exactly.
And you want that during the day, not at night. And one of the issues that, say, that 38-year-old female or 35-year-old female may have is cortisol that's low mid-afternoon, but then it goes up right before bed or in the middle of the night.
Or at 3 a.m.
Which means you're wide awake.
And they're sitting there laying there for 2 hours. And that's where, if their progesterone's low, I use Seraphoss and progesterone to try to fix it, because I'm kind of fixing two things at once.
Okay, cool. Well, that's probably enough for today. Ray Binkowski sitting in FitWorkz Hybrid Training Gym for your food, your nutrition, Eat by Color. Chantel Manhart, nurse practitioner from Prairie Point, here locally in the DeKalb Sycamore Market. If you have questions, by all means ask or look myself or Chantel at Prairie Point up.